Yes. Hey, can you say Hare Krishna? Hare Krishna. Can you say Hare Krishna? What's your name?
Mia.
Have you been good today?
Yeah. Yeah.
How old are you?
Four.
Are you 4? Yeah? Are you 1?
How old are you? No.
1.
Four.
Come to go, I'll show you how.
Oh, yeah. So. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Yeah. Yeah, good yourself. Yeah, good luck. Good, thank you. Yeah, keep me in your prayers.
What's your favorite color? Pink. And what's your favorite animal? Is it a donkey or cow, cat, and cat?
Bilal.
Hare Krishna, everyone. So we'll be having class now. So from now until about 7 o'clock, we'll have a discussion on Bhagavad Gita. So if you'd like to join, then please feel free to just turn around here. We'll have Arti at 7 o'clock. So yeah. Yeah. So first, what we'll do before we start, we'll sing Jai Radha Madhava. I'm not sure if you guys know this bhajan before. So basically, Srila Prabhupada, founder Acharya, said that Jai Radha Madhava is like it's a picture into the spiritual world. So before anything we do, it's nice to know why we're doing it. So by singing this bhajan, this song, then what happens is we help to set our mind in the right frame of mind so we know where we're going, what the purpose of this discussion is. So yeah, please feel free to join in if you know, and then we can discuss after. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari 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 Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Dari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Yasoda Nandana Vraja Jana Ranjana Yashoda Nandana Vraja Jana Ranjana Yasoda Nandana Vraja Jana Ranjana Yasoda Nandana Vraja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tiravanachari Yamuna Tiravanachari Yamuna Tiravanachari Yamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Gauranitai 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 Jaya Gauranitai Jaya Gauranitai 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 Jaya Gauranitai Prabhupada 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 Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada 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 Shila Prabhupada Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivraj Chakacharya Sutra Sata, His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Premsa Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Sadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shamakund Radhakund Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Navadvip Mayapur Dham Ki Jai. Ganga Devi Tulsi Devi Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Brihad Madanga Ki Jai. Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. O glorious to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. O glorious to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. O glorious to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. O glorious to the lotus feet of Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Okay. So we're going to be reading from chapter 5, text number 1. And the title of the chapter is Karma Yoga Action in Krishna Consciousness. So I'll just read the verse and then we can go from there. Okay, Arjuna Vacha. Yeah, okay. That's okay. I think I'll just read it through and then we can go. Arjuna Vacha Sanyasam Karmanam Krishna Purna Yogam Chasam Samsasi Yatstreya Itayo Ekam Tanme Bruhi Sunishtitam. I'll just read the translation. So Arjuna Vacha, Arjun said, Sanyasam, renunciation, Karmanam, of all activities, Krishna, O Krishna, Puna, again, Yogam, devotional service, Cha, also, Samsasi, you are praising, Yat, which, Shreya is more beneficial, Etaye, Etayo, of these two, Ekam, one, Tat, that, May unto me, Bruhi, please tell me, Sunishchitam, definitely. The translation. Arjun said, O Krishna, first of all you asked me to renounce work, and then again you recommend work with devotion. Now will you kindly tell me definitely which of the two is more beneficial? Purport. In this 5th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says that work in devotional service is better than dry mental speculation. Devotional service is easier than the latter because, being transcendental in nature, it frees one from reaction. In the 2nd chapter, preliminary knowledge of the soul and its entanglement in the material body were explained. How to get out of this material engagement by Buddhi Yoga or devotional service was also explained therein. In the 3rd chapter it was explained that a person who is situated on the platform of knowledge no longer has any duties to perform. And in the 4th chapter the Lord told Arjuna that all kinds of sacrificial work culminate in knowledge. However, at the end of the 4th chapter, the Lord advised Arjuna to wake up and fight. Being situated in perfect knowledge, therefore, by simultaneously stressing the importance of both work in devotion and inaction in knowledge, Krishna has perplexed Arjuna and confused his determination. Arjuna understands that renunciation in knowledge involves cessation of all kinds of work performed as sense activities. But if one performs work in devotional service, then how is work stopped? In other words, he thinks that sannyas or renunciation in knowledge should be altogether free from all kinds of activity, because work and renunciation appear to him to be incompatible. He appears not to have understood that work in full knowledge is non-reactive and is therefore the same as inaction. He inquires, therefore, whether he should cease work altogether or work with full knowledge. Om Gyana Timrandasya Gyananjana Shlakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutade Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvetam Savadutam Prajana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padansa Ganaladita Shri Vishakam Vitamscha Hey Krishna Kurna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshware Brishabhanu Sutadevi Pranamami Haripriye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Vyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivashadi Gaur Bhaktarinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Okay, so firstly, thank you very much for everyone coming today. I know it's a Monday evening and there's many different places that you could be, but so thank you for coming to the temple. And yeah, so we'll try to have some discussion on this verse and see how it can be relevant to our lives and how it can be beneficial to us and inspiring us to move forward in our lives. So when I was reading this this verse, sorry, Prabhu, would it be Prabhu? Sorry. Would it be okay if you take the children outside? It's just we can't fully focus. Is that okay? Yeah. Sorry, thank you. Okay, so the first point that's when I was reading this that came to mind was so here Arjuna's in a dilemma. He's not really too sure what Krishna said. Krishna seems to have said two different things, and sometimes we experience that. Sometimes when we read the scripture, or even in life itself, we may be not sure what to do. We may be not sure how to act, what the best thing for us to do is. And a lot of the times we have this where there's two different ideas or many different ideas of different paths we can go. So here Arjuna is putting this forth to Krishna. He's saying, I don't actually know what to do. I don't know what the best thing is. You've told me these two different ideas, but can you clarify it? And so then here Krishna is going to explain more about what this actually means. And the first thing that's being said is how Srila Prabhupada in the purple says, what does he say? He says, in the third chapter, it was explained that a person who is situated on the platform of knowledge no longer has any duties to perform. And in the fourth chapter, the Lord told Arjuna that all kinds of sacrificial work culminate in knowledge. However, at the end of the fourth chapter, the Lord advised Arjuna to wake up and fight, being situated in perfect knowledge. So these two things, they seem contradictory with what Srila Prabhupada is saying. Because at one stage, Krishna is saying that actually the culmination of all our work and everything is that we get knowledge. Okay? And then what do you do with that knowledge? That you then basically, you renounce your work. Okay? But then here Krishna is saying, he says at the end of the fourth chapter to basically get up and fight. So how do these two things come together? And so the first thing that comes to mind is that there has to be an understanding of what renunciation really means. A lot of the time what's being said is that renunciation is that you give up what you're doing and you go away somewhere else. But actually that's not what Srila Prabhupada is saying here. It says that a person who is situated on the platform of knowledge no longer has any duties to perform. So one can think that, okay, great. Krishna consciousness, being a saintly person just means I can give up what I'm doing. I can stop all my duties, no more headaches, perfect. I can just go relax. But actually that's not what a saintly person does. A saintly person is actually the hardest working person. And we see this in the life of Srila Prabhupada and so many of our teachers, our previous teachers. In that what renunciation actually means is, it means renunciation of the idea of being separate from Krishna. The idea of being separate from that this world is separate from Krishna. And not just that, it means renunciation of the identity of anything other than our true identity, which means to be an eternal servant of the Lord. So it means giving up all these other designations, which means that I'm not now a husband, I'm not now a wife, I'm not now a brother, I'm none of these identifications, but actually I'm just a servant of Krishna. That doesn't mean we externally run away from these positions that we have in this world. But what it means is, in our heart, we don't identify with these things. We identify with something because we're actually attached to it. Because there's some feeling in our heart that we need something, we need this thing in our life. But actually what this is saying is that the only thing, when one comes to real understanding, real knowledge, that one just needs Krishna. That Vasudeva Sarvamiti Samahatma Sudurabha, that actually after many, many lifetimes, that one comes to this stage of knowledge. And this knowledge is that actually this whole world is Krishna's. This material world actually belongs to Krishna. I'm only Krishna's part and parcel. And my only duty in this world then is to serve Krishna. That's my only duty. And so then what that means is that how this works, how does it work that we stay in our position but we still act as an eternal servant of Krishna? How do these two things come together? They come together because if we understand what does it mean to be a servant of Krishna, what does it mean to be a servant of the Lord? So to be a servant means to fulfill one's desires, doesn't it? If you want to serve someone, you have to understand deeply what is it that they want, you know? And so in this age of Kali, the Lord incarnates, the Lord comes as Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and he gives his understanding of what it means to be a servant of the Lord, and what this actually means. And it's a very sweet and heart-touching understanding, because he basically says that it's from a literature called the Chaitanya Charitamrita, and I'll just read out the series of verses. It says, what does it start? Sensory devotion. Okay, so this is the Supreme Lord speaking. He says, I am the only gardener. How many places can I go? How many fruits can I pick to distribute? It would certainly be very laborious task to pick the fruits and distribute them alone, and still I suspect that some would receive them and others would not. Therefore I order every man within this universe to accept this Krishna consciousness movement and distribute it everywhere. I am the only gardener. If I do not distribute these fruits, what shall I do with them? How many fruits can I eat alone? And it goes on, and so what this is a very sweet understanding, because what this actually means is that the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the person who can do anything, he actually becomes dependent on his children, you know? He becomes dependent on each and every one of us to say that, hey, I need your help here. I need your help here to distribute this love of God to all others. I need your help, so please can you help me? Please accept this love of God in your heart, and after accepting it, go and distribute it to all others. And so what this means practically in our lives is that we can stay in our position, and just by acting as an instrument of the Lord's kindness in this world, the Lord's love, and by giving this knowledge to others about who the Lord is, you're actually fulfilling the purpose. You're acting as an instrument of the Lord. So just by staying in one's position, one can actually act as an instrument of the Lord. One doesn't necessarily need to change their position. So it's so wonderful how accessible the Lord is. You know, I was just thinking about this point, how in the first part of the purport, Srila Prabhupada says, devotional service is easier than the latter. Being transcendental in nature, it frees one from reaction. This is so wonderful. Look, devotional service is easier than the latter. The latter is that one has to give up everything, one has to speculate on the truth and all these things, and then go maybe to the mountains and undergo so much austerities. How many of us are willing to do that? I can put my hand up and say, I'm not. To realize the absolute truth, that requires someone very, very sincere to do that. And the crazy thing is that we're so fortunate that just by practicing Krishna consciousness, coming to Krishna consciousness, chanting the holy names, coming to hear discourses, you achieve not just what those people who are performing severe austerities achieve, but something even greater. It's like if you have, I've never been skiing, but I've heard of these things of ski slopes. And so what happens is you have someone who can walk up the mountain. You know, you may have steps up the mountain, and someone could walk up these stairs, okay? And then say someone's maybe halfway up, okay? These are like the people, the yogis, or the people who go to renounce everything out of their sincerity to want the truth, okay? But then you have the people who are at the bottom. They can't even walk up a few stairs. And if they walk up a few stairs, they fall down immediately after, you know? And then what happens is there's a ski lift though. There's a ski lift that can take one right to the top. And it makes the work so much easier. And not just does it make up the work so much easier, but you actually get to the top. Well, if one is walking up, there are so many dangers on that path, isn't it? There's like to be weather storms, you may lose, there's no hunger, all these things, so much time that you have to spend walking up. So the difference is that one is actually so much more easily going to go up by this ski lift. And so that ski lift, at least for me, is I'm one of those recipients of that ski lift. That if I just take this message into my heart, that actually I can take this ski lift of the message of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and receive the top thing, which is very, very difficult and very, very rare to achieve, this love of God. This love of God which can actually awaken within each and every one of our hearts. There's a verse in our scriptures which says that, how does it go? Krishna Prema Satya Kabanoi Shavanadi Sudhichiti. I'll just read it out. It's sorry, 1 second. Yes, it goes. Nitya Siddha Krishna Prema Satya Kabanoi Shavanadi Sudhichiti Udiye or Karye Udoy. Anyway, we went on. Anyway, so it says that pure love for Krishna is eternally established in the hearts of all the living entities. It is not something to be gained from any source. When the heart is purified by hearing and chanting, this love naturally awakens. So just simply by hearing this message, this Krishna Katha, this message of the Lord, and by chanting His holy names, one awakens this love. Gradually it happens, but we start to awaken this love within us. And then one is fully satisfied, one doesn't need anything else. And Savai Pumsa Paro Dhamma Yoto Bhakti Adokaje Ahoitakiya Pratiyatayi Atmasu Prasidati. The thing that satisfies the heart at fullest is this unmotivated, uninterrupted devotional service to the Lord, which is just the eternal occupation, the eternal duty of each and every one of us. So what Krishna is saying here is that if we just give up all these other things, give up in the sense that we don't become attached to them. And so by becoming attached to Krishna, our detachment increases for these material designations, these material desires. And then one doesn't need these, one realizes they don't need these things. So yeah, we're very, very fortunate that we have this this opportunity. It's a great opportunity. It's said in other ages, so there's 4 different ages. There's Satya Yuga, Treta Yuga, Dwapara Yuga, and Kali Yuga. And what it says is that in each of the ages, there's particular conditions which basically rule that particular age. So in Sattva Yuga, there's a lot of mode of goodness. And mode of goodness basically means there's a lot of peace and tranquility. People are able to meditate for a long time. There's qualities of godliness which are very prevalent. Then what happens is, as you go through the ages, the quality of one's life basically decreases. The qualities that one lives by decreases. And so right now, can you guess what age we're in, if anyone? Kali Yuga. And what's the symptoms of those ages? Does anyone know?
Well, God becomes, man becomes very selfish, there's wars, we don't care for each other, and God becomes secondary.
Yeah, completely, yeah. So basically, atheism is very prevalent, and in our scriptures it says that everyone is always disturbed, you know.
I have a few more questions, please.
Do you mind if we do questions at the end? Is that okay? Yeah, thank you. So what it says is that that everyone is always disturbed in this age. Not just that, everyone is always cheating. Everyone is always cheating themselves and being cheated by others. There's so many different things that are happening. And not just that, everyone's lazy. As I just said, that who's willing to go and perform all these austerities to achieve their goal of life? Not many people are. So all these things are there in Kali Yuga. And so what it says is that the Lord has to come and give a process by which those people in that condition, they can be lifted up. They can come to the highest stage. And why is that? He doesn't need to. But it's out of His love and kindness in the heart that He actually wants us. He deeply wants us back. and so he has to create a process by which we can actually we can come back to him. And so what happens is there's a part of our scriptures which says that in the different ages you have different personalities, and what happens is these different personalities, they basically feel that this process of chanting the holy names of the Lord is too easy. We can sit and perform austerities, we can sit and perform sacrifices, we can do all these big things of sacrificing so many gold coins, all these austerities, but just by chanting the holy names, you can get the highest perfection. And what happens is they don't believe it. They don't believe it because the process is too simple. You know, you can do all these great things. It's like if you say to a weightlifter that who's got, you know, big muscles, they're trained for years and years. If you just take this 5 kg dumbbell, then, you know, you'll be successful. You'll win the Olympics. They'll probably laugh at you. So it's a similar situation, that this chanting of the holy names is so simple that we can actually miss it. But just by taking this regularly, that actually naturally this love is awakened in the heart. And so then I was thinking that is I wanted to speak more on renunciation and sannyas and examples of renunciation, so we can get a better idea of what it means and how it may apply to our lives. Shri Shri Radha Gokulananda ki jai, Shri Shri Sitaram Lakshman Hanuman ki jai, Shri Shri Gaurnitai ki jai, Gaur Parampara ki jai. And so I was thinking that it's obviously a special day. I don't know if it was today or yesterday, but it's Shivratri. So I don't know if people celebrate it maybe on different days, but yeah, so I just wanted to kind of take the example of Lord Shiva and see how this can link into renunciation and what lessons we can learn from his life, because there's so many wonderful lessons. And when we glorify these great personalities, especially on their kind of their days, there's special blessings that come from them. So we'll try to glorify from whatever we've heard Lord Shiva in terms of this verse. And so the first thing about Lord Shiva is that he's everyone sees Lord Shiva's appearance, and in the 4th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, it describes his appearance. I'll just get the exact descriptions up. Yeah, so So it says there's specifically a few things that when you see Lord Shiva, these things kind of you can see. So it says that there's ashes all over his body, and that he's wearing a garland of skulls. Okay, he's got matted hair, and he's known for not bathing regularly, and he's nearly naked basically, and he's always spending time and surrounded by ghosts. Okay, so if someone was to see this kind of personality, they probably wouldn't think this is a saintly person at all. And a lot of the time, Lord Shiva is misjudged and misunderstood. But actually, this is his great compassion, because actually what he's doing is he's a great devotee of the Lord, and so what this means is he's acting as an instrument of the Lord. And what this means is he's spending all his time with people who are ghosts and spirits, and who are in the mode of ignorance. And what this means is that they may have committed suicide, they've committed very abominable activities, which has put them into this sphere of life. And so because the Lord wants to uplift each and every one, he puts someone in each situation just to uplift them. So Lord Shiva is there in this situation, and he's acting like he's one of them, just to uplift them in their religious principles slightly. Even if they don't become pure devotees overnight, even if it's just a small thing. And this is the Lord's sweetness and kindness. He's so available to each and every one of us. He's so available to each and every one of us that he wherever you're at in your life, he's able to enter into that space and just come a bit closer. He's going to help you come closer to him. Wherever you are, it doesn't matter what standards you're at. He's willing to create just a specific situation for you to come back to him. And so it's so wonderful, because if you look at the Vedas, there's so many different Vedas, and a lot of the time people get confused about how is it you have this Veda saying this Veda saying this instruction here, this instruction here. But actually they're for different people. According to where you're at, you're able to have a specific instruction for you. And so the Lord is so kind and personal, he's able to give you a specific instruction that, okay, you're at this stage of life, do this. You're at this stage of life, do this, and you'll come closer to me gradually. So similarly, Lord Shiva's in this space where he's helping all the living entities come to him, just very gradually. And it's so kind, because just imagine that situation. Not just is he in that situation, but he's also able to, he has to be misunderstood in that situation, isn't it? How difficult is that to give up? That feeling of being misunderstood or misheard is such a big thing. But this is his renunciation. So as we were saying about what renunciation means, this is his renunciation. His renunciation is that he's able to give up this identity of being a devotee or anything like that, but he's willing to be completely misunderstood, but just for the upliftment of everyone. So it's such a wonderful example that we have. And so that's one aspect of Lord Shiva, his renunciation of pride. And so this is one thing we can learn, that Lord Shiva is able to renounce his pride, and just be a completely selfless servant, knowing that actually all he wants to do is just serve the Lord. Then the other quality that Lord Shiva kind of can display is, it's a similar quality, but it's a very sweet pastime. So I'll speak about it. It's in the 8th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, and in this pastime, it's the pastime of there's a churning of the ocean. So what basically happens is you have these demigods, and the demigods, or Indra, basically he makes an offense. He makes an offense kind of unknowingly, but he makes an offense to a great sage, and he gets cursed now. And because he's been cursed by Durvasha Muni, what then happens is he's basically, when you're cursed by a great personality, what happens is all your material opulences or all your material things get stripped from you. Okay, so what happened was the demons, they would fight against the demigods, and this time what happened was the demigods would actually lost the battle, even though they're devotees, but they lost the battle because Lord Indra had been cursed. And so when Indra was cursed, all the demigods, they kind of came together and were like, what should we do? We're going to be defeated again, and we lost everything. So what happened was they went to Lord Brahma, and Lord Brahma then went to the ocean of milk and said some prayers to invoke the Lord to come. And the Lord said, okay, yeah, I'll come help, I'll come as a tortoise, so I'll come as a tortoise, and I'll lift this mountain, and by this mountain you can churn this ocean of nectar. And by churning this ocean of nectar basically means that by this one gains immortality. So by having this ocean of nectar, one gains immortality. And again, let's take a step back on this pastime, because this is so beautiful. Because the Lord himself, this ocean of nectar, if someone takes this, they become immortal. The demigods, they're actually devotees, but what happens is, because they still have some desire to want to enjoy separate from the Lord, they still want to exploit the Lord for something. They want to act in devotion, but they still have some tendency to enjoy things separate from the Lord. And so then the Lord, he's still willing to come down into that situation personally. Imagine that someone comes and asks you something like, oh, okay, yeah, can I just have this thing? And then I'm going to go off and do my own thing. How would you feel? You probably wouldn't help the person. I probably wouldn't help the person, knowing they just want to take from me. Yeah? But the Lord, he's not like that. He's so kind, because he sees a drop. He sees a drop of endeavor to us, and he comes into that situation personally. He doesn't even send someone to go there. You could easily just be like, okay, yeah, cool, I'll just send my people there to you. But I'm going to stay, and be with the people who actually want to be with me. But the Lord isn't like that. He personally comes into that situation. So he personally comes into this situation. And then what happens is, he personally comes into this situation. And then what happens is he becomes, they start churning this ocean of nectar. And the first thing that comes out of this ocean of nectar is poison. Yeah? And so this is also very instructive for us, because anytime we go towards spirituality, we're all sitting here today, and something that I've said may stand out to everyone that, oh yeah, this sounds exciting. Okay, yeah, if I just hear and chant, I can achieve this love of God. But this is also instructive that actually on any path, when we're looking for nectar, it will start by poison. It will start by some austerity, some endeavor, and we won't get the results straight away, but over time these results come. So this is another lesson we can learn from this. And then what happens is that the Lord, he then, so the first thing that comes out is poison, okay? And you think about it, you're the Supreme Lord. You could easily just get rid of the poison. The poison is actually a manifestation of your energy. So it's not difficult for the Lord to remove anything. But he doesn't do that. What he does is he goes and he acts, he pretends to be afraid. Actually, he's not pretending, but he's afraid of the situation. And then what happens is he goes and he says, let's go to Lord Shiva. He's afraid and he says, let's go to Lord Shiva. And then knowing this, so he goes to Lord Shiva. And what the Lord, what the Lord is trying to do here, he's trying to basically glorify the qualities of his devotees. So this is the Lord that we're worshipping. We're worshipping Sri Sri Radha Gokulananda, and that same Lord, he's at the center of this temple. He's actually at the center of the world, but he's at the center of this temple. But you know who he wants to put at the center? He wants to put each and every one of you at the center. How beautiful is that? So what he does is, this same Lord, he goes to Lord Shiva and says, okay, hey, Lord Shiva, we're in a helpless situation. Can you help us? And just glorify the Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva, out of compassion, he says, okay, I can take this poison. And so then by doing this, the Lord gets he gets this bluish tinge. Lord Shiva gets this bluish tinge, and he's known as Nilakanta. And so this is the compassion of Lord Shiva. That actually he's willing to go through sufferings, take sufferings of others just to uplift them, to come closer to him. So it's another very beautiful thing of compassion, that he's willing to go through sufferings just to uplift others. And yeah, so that was another quality that we can learn. And then the last pastime of Lord Shiva that I was thinking of was, it's described in the 12th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. It's not specifically a pastime about Lord Shiva, but he appears in this pastime, and it basically, there's a description of Markandeya Rishi. And so Markandeya Rishi, he's a great sage. He's I think he's living in a cave or somewhere in a secluded place, and he's coming closer and closer to achieving perfection. And he's experiencing loving emotions in his heart towards the Supreme Lord. And then it comes to a time that then the Lord appears to him and says, what would you like? And it's a very interesting thing that Markandeya Rishi says. He says that, I'd like to see your illusory energy. Very, very strange thing to say. I'd like to see your illusory energy. And so then the Lord says, okay, so you should have it. And again, another very sweet point about this pastime, if you look at it, the Lord's willing, he comes and he wants to fulfill the desires of his devotees. He comes and wants to fulfill the desires of his devotees. Actually, he comes and fulfills the desires of every single one of us. He's seated within the heart as the super soul, and he's actually giving you the intelligence to do everything. Not just is he giving you the intelligence to do everything, he's giving you the facilities to enjoy as well. How kind and how loving the Lord is, that even when you want to do things separate from him, he'll still give you that intelligence. So we actually can't live separate from him, even if we wanted to. Anyway, so he carries on, and what then happens is he says, okay, so be it, you want to see the illusory energy. And then as he's in his trance, what happens is he suddenly experiences this huge storm. And I'll cut it short, but for many, many years, he's basically in this huge ocean, just being battered by animals. He's completely hungry, completely thirsty, and just in this huge ocean, and he's struggling to live, completely exhausted. It's hard for us to imagine this because it's completely beyond our experience, but we would be dead at this point. Anyway, so he goes through this experience, and then what happens is the only relief of him going through this experience is that he sees the Lord. He sees the Lord, and the Lord comes. And there's a very, very, very beautiful point and a very sweet pastime, because the Lord comes, and guess what form the Lord is seen? The Lord is seen sitting there sucking his toe. And our teachers say, why is it that the Lord is there sitting as a child sucking his toe? It's said that the Lord, he hears from his devotees, and he sees his devotees, and he hears that, wait, what is the happiness they're experiencing in tasting the lotus feet of my lotus feet? What is the pleasure that they're experiencing in tasting my lotus feet? I don't know what that experience is. So the all-omniscient Lord, the Lord who knows everything, but he doesn't know what it's like to experience his love. It's a very wonderful thing. And so what the Lord does, he has to come down to experience that love. What is it like to experience me? So he's there sitting as a child sucking his toe. And the sucking his toe, the Markandeya Rishi, he sees this Lord. He sees the Lord sucking his toe, and he's completely attracted. His heart is just filling with love. And then what happens is that he forgets all of his difficulties and troubles that he's experiencing for years and years and years. And so this is also very important to us. And especially in Kali Yuga, we go through so many difficulties, so many troubles. But actually our only solace that we can experience is actually when we experience the Lord. When the Lord manifests in our heart, he's already there, but when we experience that the Lord is there in our heart, that's actually our real peace and satisfaction. And that's our only real shelter. And so when Markandeya Rishi sees the Lord, he experiences this. And then anyway, he gets thrown back into this ocean, and repeatedly this happens where he sees the Lord and then goes back into this ocean. And then after some time, he then comes back, and this is where Lord Shiva comes in, because Lord Shiva is riding above with Parvati, his consort, and what happens is he then Parvati says that, oh, who is this great rishi? Who is this great rishi? And because Lord Shiva, he's an expansion, he's non-different from the Lord himself. But it's described as like the difference between milk and yogurt. So the Supreme Lord is milk, but from milk you do something and then you create yogurt, you know? So it's the same substance, but it's just you do some process to create something else. So Lord Shiva is the manifestation of the Lord's energy. And so what happens is he then says, who is this great personality? And because Lord Shiva is all-knowing in this sense, he then says to his consort that, oh, this is a great sage, and he's experiencing, love of God. And then Parvati says that, oh, we should go give him some blessings, And so it's very sweet what happens, because as Lord Shiva goes to see Markandeya Rishi, and Markandeya Rishi says that actually, the Lord Shiva and Parvati go and say, we've come to take your association. So this is very, very sweet again, this point of renunciation. This renunciation is that he's actually the Supreme Lord, he's willing to humble himself. Lord Shiva is willing to humble himself in this way to his own devotee. Very, very beautiful. Another lesson we can learn, that he's able to humble himself to his devotee, and he's come to take the association of his devotee. And this is what Markandeya Rishi says. He says that how great is it that you come to humble yourself, even though you're the source of everything, you're the source of all my austerities, all my qualities, but you're willing to come and be subordinate to me. So these are just a few qualities that we can take on what real renunciation is, and maybe just by remembering these pastimes, we may be able to develop some of these qualities in our heart and practice these. So yeah, I'll leave it there. We have a couple of minutes if there are any if there's any questions or comments, and then the curtains will open for Arti. So yeah, were there any questions, comments? Yes.
Explain to me, because I've been reading Bhagavad Gita every day, so you send it on via WhatsApp. Explain to me, what is a demigod? From the perspective of where you're sitting today.
Yeah, of course, yeah. Sorry, just please come sit. Come sit, yeah. So demigods, there's different types of demigods, but the main understanding of the demigods is that, so the main understanding of the demigods is that they're also living entities. So just like us, we're eternal servants of Krishna, but we have human bodies right now. We don't realize we're eternal servants of Krishna. So the demigods are similar as well. They have a similar disposition. So in your next life, if you perform the right actions this life, you could become a demigod next life. So just by what we understand is that they've performed many pious activities, and performing those pious activities, they gain a position by which they perform devotional service, but they still have some desires to want to enjoy separate from the Lord. So they're a mixed devotee. So usually there'll be karma mishra bhakta, which means that they're devotees, but they still have desires to enjoy separate from Krishna. It's just,
when I look at Hinduism,
yes.
compare Hinduism to Christianity, Judaism, Islam, whatever it may be, do we consider their gods as demigods?
It varies. It can vary. So in each religion, it will be different. So
From a Hindu perspective,
yeah.
how do we
Yeah, we view them in different ways. So it may mean that, for example, so some people, like Jesus Christ, he says that he was the Son of God. So our scriptures, Srila Prabhupada says that he's a Shaktivesh avatar. Shaktivesh avatar means that he's been empowered. He's a living entity, but he's been empowered by the Lord. So that's one example that Jesus is the Son of God. And in many other religions, you have different personalities who will be different. They may be an incarnation of the Lord. So like, for example, Buddha. We understand that Buddha is actually the Lord himself. It's actually because it says in our scriptures that he's the Lord himself. He comes to incarnate, but he comes to give give a certain religious principle to upgrade people in some way. So what we understand is all the religions, in some way, shape, or form, they're basically just trying to upgrade people to come to some level of faith and understanding of the Lord. Yeah.
Within Hinduism, the way I understand it is Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva are effectively our gods, correct?
So this is only within the material modes of nature. So this is only on this material world. So this understanding of just having Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva is not actually a complete understanding. It's a section of an understanding, because what it basically is saying that this material world is governed by Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva. So that's true, but there's more to the reality than just the material world. And actually, the personality who's behind that is Govinda, Krishna. Govinda Madhipurusham Tamaham Bhajami. So it means that actually Krishna is the one who he's the one who's creating this material world. And not just that, he's then empowering Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, and Vishnu, who's coming in as an expansion. So that understanding is only a section of the understanding of the complete reality, because it only encapsulates. It doesn't give a purpose of understanding of who we are. It doesn't give an understanding of who God is, but it only gives a very secular understanding. So this is only a minute understanding. Yeah.
But, sorry, last question.
Yeah, of course.
We're taught Hinduism.
Yeah.
Krishna.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're avatars of.
Vishnu. Yeah. It's a
As I'm going through this
Yeah. Yeah, it's a misunderstanding. I grew up with the same understanding in that I grew up in a Hindu background, and we're taught that you have Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva, then you have these incarnations expand, but it's not a real full understanding. And it's sad because in any kind of religious path or anything, when there's not I'll just end at this point, when there's not proper following, what happens is the essence gets diluted. There's not proper philosophy. And so what happens is you have so many people, so many Hindus, and I'll be honest, to some degree it's embarrassing. It's actually quite embarrassing because we have such a rich philosophy and rich culture, but we come to argue about it and we have no idea what we're saying. I remember growing up and feeling embarrassed as a Hindu because people come up to you and be like, you're saying you have this God, and I was sitting there just like, yeah, I have no idea. And then I'll go to my mum and dad and same understanding, just bow down. There's no philosophy, no understanding, but this is why we're so fortunate to have Srila Prabhupada's books, that he can actually clear all these doubts. There's no doubts of what Srila Prabhupada is saying. So just by reading and hearing Prabhupada's books, all these doubts will be cleared. I'll end on that just because we have Arti, but thank you for your questions. Okay, Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Jai Nitai Gaur Premanandi, Hari Hari Bol.